right, hello and welcome. We're going to be talking about Gen AI today, allegedly, or this might just be a big advertisement for Wichita, Kansas. We'll see. Delighted to be here with Stacy and Michelle. My name is David Francis. I'm the Global Head of Research for Talent Labs. I'm I lead a team of analysts specifically focused on talent acquisition technology. The way we're going to kind of structure this session today, I'll spend about 5 or 7 minutes kind of talking through, trying to condense 70 years of AI research into, some hopefully actionable takeaways about kind of what's going on now in the current state, specifically with generative AI. And then we'll talk to a couple of folks that are in the process of implementing that. One thing I guess I'll say, so to the question of who's kind of operationalized this internally, generative AI is kind of so new that it's essentially, there's the illustration of like trying to change the wheels of a train while it's running. Well, Gen AI is kind of like you're trying to build the train like while you're getting like pushed down the tracks. So the capabilities, if you feel kind of behind or almost on a month-to-month basis, new capabilities are coming out and things are changing. I want to start here with just kind of a framing for, AI has been around for the past 70 years. And so the question is like, how is what we have today new or different than anything that's come before it, and is this all just hype? So historically, AI has been trained on typically a specific set of data to solve a specific problem. And so there are companies that would be, would train a model on, images of cats to be able to identify cats, or, would look at, millions of job descriptions to try to determine, what are skills that we might pull out of there. But typically there was, a company that was focused on one specific, call it use case. With generative AI, or what I call working towards general AI, it's the closest we ever got to kind of a broad-based system that's essentially trained on all of human knowledge, which has been digitized in some format. And so what these models are able to do is basically act as an expert kind of across domains. And so you don't need to buy a specific point solution for one specific use case. You can use it to do many, many, many different things. And I thought it was maybe a fun way to kind of illustrate this. If anybody hasn't played with the 4.0 model yet, we'll see if this works. A little bit of vulnerability here, but.
Love that. Yeah.
So we're doing this live. Hello. How would you say supercalifragilistic backwards?
Hey there, going live, huh? Let's give it a shot. Saying supercalifragilisticexpialidocious backward would be something like sua delights et siligarphilocrepus. Quite a mouthful, isn't it?
That is quite a mouthful. Can you tell me what's a good interview question to ask a candidate applying for an entry-level position as a heavy equipment field technician?
Oh, I love that.
Absolutely. A solid interview question for an entry-level heavy equipment field technician position could be, can you walk me through a time when you had to troubleshoot and repair heavy equipment under pressure or within tight deadlines? This question helps assess their problem-solving skills and ability to work efficiently in a demanding environment.
Thanks. So the whole point is the model wasn't trained on any specific workforce data. It just is broadly, broad domain expert. What we see as the future is basically a system architecture that is designed to live in a specific context, in this case HR or hiring, but with those capabilities kind of built in, or possibly other models built in as well. The data here over on the left is, this is basically kind of the state of the art prior to Gen AI. And so any of these pain points here, there's some AI solution out there, there's some technology vendor that does these things. If you look over at the right, Gen AI experiences, these are capabilities that are in market to some degree or possible that in many cases replicate what's been built by vendors before. Some kind of quick stats around where we're at today. So this is data from SHRM, we surveyed about 4,000 CHROs from earlier this year. Only about 1 in 4 organizations are using kind of any type of AI in their HR delivery or talent delivery. Importantly, of that, about 2/3 launched in the last year. The majority of that is job description management. And can anybody think about, maybe something that happened in the last year that might have precipitated a spike in usage? Well, it turns out it's the release of these models, and generative AI specifically. And one of the things it's done is it's democratized access. So you don't need to go to your boss for permission. you can just go online and start using these. And so it's sped kind of the rate at which these tools are getting deployed at organizations. The biggest kind of organizational challenges tend to be around adoption and the UX. And so the kind of truly transformational cases so far, like the killer app hasn't been built yet. And in fact, if you look at like what companies have deployed so far, it's really three things. One is a company has built like a gated version of ChatGPT or some other model, which is kind of a wrapper on a large language model. And so they're basically saying like, you can use this in your daily work, but we've got like a specific instance of it. Copilot, which is basically been branded by Microsoft, is the other example. So we're just going to buy Copilot licenses. And then the last example is kind of I think where the future is for practitioners, which is basically like how can we make this experience live in kind of the flow of work or in the applications in which we live today. And so there's dozens of vendors which have built their own kind of personal Copilots inside of their own HR applications. Since we're at the Eightfold Cultivate conference, calling out the Eightfold example here. And frankly, where's the killer app for TAHR? It's kind of a rhetorical question. Given what I saw earlier today with Ashu demonstrating, if that my gut reaction to that is like if that becomes possible, like that is kind of the killer app, quite frankly. So burden is on them to deliver that capability, quite frankly, but very exciting. All right, so get off my soapbox now and let's have some fun. So first off, why don't we introduce our esteemed panelists and go ahead and start.
So I'm Michelle Fichtel. I am the Director of Organizational Development at Fully Equipment. And we are a Caterpillar dealer based in Kansas and Northwest Missouri. Thus, the sales pitch for everyone to move to Kansas. Hit us up offline, it's fine.
Yeah, and I'm Stacy Gramza. I'm also with Fully Equipment. And I've been there about 2.5 years. So yeah, I'm over talent acquisition. So the strategy and the recruiting team for the organization. Wonderful.
So on the wrong slide there, apologies in advance. So let's start. Tell us about, before we get into kind of the Gen AI and how you're using Eightfold and planning to use it and what your future aspirations are, we always advise to basically start with the business problems that you're trying to solve. And so you guys have some pretty unique challenges, and even though you're a relatively small organization to maybe the kind of global multinationals, you still have some challenges that I think speak kind of across industries and sectors. So why don't you start with some of the a little bit about Fully Equipment, some of the core challenges you have kind of operating in your market?
Yeah, so a little bit about our journey in this space and a little bit about who we are. Obviously, I said Fully Equipment, which is there on our logo, and I also followed up quickly with a Caterpillar dealer because it turns out brand recognition is important, and you might not have all been familiar with Fully, but you're certainly most of you familiar with Caterpillar, yes? I hear John Deere's here as well.
Hey.
There you are.
Taking notes.
So we are on that journey. We're a small company, 1,500 employees, ballpark, based geographically in Kansas, Northwest Missouri, landlocked. It's a challenge to find and grow our business. And so we're in our 84th year of operation, third generation, privately owned company. And, about a decade ago, we had about 250 employees to speak to that growth and that journey. And to make that happen, the lifeblood of what we do is all about diesel technicians and heavy equipment and being able to provide that service and be a top-notch provider for our customers. And to do that, we've heard a lot of talk this morning, right? It's all about human focus. We can't do it without people. AI is going to do a lot of amazing things, and we're really excited for how that changes work. But at the end of the day, I still have a lot of things that have to be done by people that I have to help with those skill gaps and get them up to speed. And so the biggest challenge that we've seen and the real business problems, we talk about HR dashboards and all those other pieces. Stacy and I get ourselves in trouble quite a bit because we say we're actually not HR, we're HR adjacent. You can tell because people talk to us.
Oh,
sorry, wrong room for that.
Yeah, sorry.
But when the business comes in, what our metrics are is what's important to the business. And so our key goal is to make an impact and drive that forward, making opportunities for the individuals and making sure that those are aligned with meeting the outcomes for our organization. So we can only do that if we can grow our technician population. Turns out there's a small population that lives in Kansas, and the vast majority of them are not diesel technicians. So
I thought everybody in Kansas was a diesel technician.
That is our goal.
That would be nice.
Those are
That would
goals.
really help me out.
So basically, our journey is all about how do we leverage our HR tech stack and everything else to support meeting those people and developing individuals that have the desire to be in this field and help equip them with the skills and knowledge and abilities to be able to then serve those customers skillfully, safely, and make a difference in the communities that we serve.
Love that. And I think one of the other big shifts that you went through is kind of this idea of moving from post to pray to kind of strategic sourcing. And I think that's how you joined the organization, actually, right? So, do you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So my background is actually in marketing. So like I said, I've been at Foley for about 2.5 years. My entire professional career before that was all marketing. So Michelle actually, and she does a really great job telling this story, but she was able to, we got connected through a mutual friend that we had. And so she talked to me, and I'll actually let her speak to a little bit of that because obviously, you know, I was just living my own life, and then I get this random request from Michelle at a Foley Caterpillar dealer, and so I'll let her kind of fill in the blanks.
The challenge with that really is we were not on Eightfold yet, so we didn't have this amazing capability to get us connected yet. So on our journey, about 3 years ago, I acquired a talent acquisition component in our organization. And we'd not done an effective job keeping up our support functions with the rest of the growth of the organization. And so we had recruiters that they're amazing. They're still with us today. We continue to grow their capabilities and what we could do. And a lot of where our focus was, and you guys have all probably experienced some version of this, right? So what are we doing to get top talent for this? Well, I posted it at this place and this place. Cool, but what about like when it's a really challenging job? Oh, well then I also post it at this other magical place. So then we just wait, and if we build it, they will come. It wasn't happening. I went out and said, I have an amazing network. So I hope to meet many of you and continue to grow that network. I know really capable, amazing individuals, and I thought, I know what I want this to be. I want to transform talent acquisition in our organization to move towards being more sales focused. How do we talk about our journey and what makes Foley an amazing place to be, and how do we market that? And having recruiting mindset, which is not a bad thing, it had just unfortunately in a lot of organizations and a lot of candidates I was speaking to is really focused on post and pray, and we hope they show up if I put a really good job description together. And AI will help me make a better one, but that alone isn't gonna get it done. So I went out on my network, utilizing different things, and Stacy's name pops up. I have to steal her away and sell her on several occasions. I don't know that I could, I'm trying to be very PG on this stage. Hit me up at cocktail hour if you want the real version.
Yeah.
But I had to do a big sales pitch because she's like, I've never worked in HR or recruiting. This is not for me. And I'm like, that is exactly why you'll be amazing, because you understand, you have a different mindset. You're very strategic, and you can bring that to the table. And first thing she told me was, I think I'm liking this opportunity, but I really don't want to work in HR.
I didn't like the association. I had just some bad PTSD from some not great HR professionals.
Of
who would
course,
be in
not
this
at Foley
room.
Equipment.
Yeah, and not at Foley. So I was just like, oh, I don't love being associated with this. But yeah, so she was phenomenal, right? So and just coaching that and saying, no, like actually you can do this. You can learn the HR side. She was a phenomenal mentor in that way. And so I think that's a big key too. Like, and it just speaks so much to this whole skills autonomy anyways,
Well,
right? Like,
frankly, you're the living example. I just realized kind of you're like the living
Skills
example
adjacency.
skills adjacency. You were skills adjacent. You got brought into a new role. You had a leader who could actually, you identified it manually. So now it's, there's a question of how do we actually do that at scale.
yeah.
So maybe that's a good transition point or segue, as they'd use in the comedic lingo. So Gen AI has a lot of potential, but it's also got a lot of hype. And so I'm curious, kind of, how did you, kind of build the business case? What was the trigger for doing Gen AI? What are you doing today, and kind of what's the future aspiration?
Yeah, so again, right, we were trying to really move that team from a little bit more tactical to more strategic. And, I think I know we all care a lot about people. We all care a lot about the people that we lead, right? So I know for a fact my team, her team, they want to come in, they want to add value, they want to use their unique skill set and gifts and abilities in a really productive, exciting way, right? Like they don't actually, my team specifically, yes, they can click the buttons, but they want more, right? They want to grow, they want to develop. I love that. That's my favorite part about having a team, is to try to develop that and grow them. And so I also want to like give them the opportunity, but they can't have the opportunity if they're drowning in the administrative side, if they're drowning in some of these just bureaucratic kind of things, where that's where we're really going to leverage AI and use that. And so the efficiency piece was huge. The ability to grow and develop my team was a big one. The other business case we made was, you know, again, Kansas, Northwest Missouri. You can probably guess what most people there, look like. So we are trying to grow our diversity and appeal to all the amazing different minds and points of views that we have available to us. And this is one way that we're really going to leverage that tool. And that was actually one of the things our CEO was most excited about with it was, it's the skills adjacencies, right? It's where, hey, a female or a minority might only apply, you know, they'll only apply for a job that they feel like they meet 100% of the requirements, whereas, you know, typically a white male will do it based on like 60%, right? So we're like, hey, there's this entire talent pool we're missing just because they don't think they can get it. But when you take the AI and you try to fill in those inferred skills, right, based on their other experience, and you have them side by side, well, now there's new people in the talent pool that we wouldn't have gotten before.
Hey, I would do it at 25%, but that's just me.
So
You're
I will
a
tell
prominent white male. Well done.
Making a connection to our keynote this morning, what I love about the vision, and I'm so excited for this to happen, one of our core foundations, we talk about this and it's embedded in a lot of our values, is this idea of making it easy. If you make it easy for people to use these items, make it easy to include more diverse perspectives, eliminate some of the bias, and eliminate then this bureaucracy so that we can improve efficiencies and have people focused on the work that matters. So make it easy. People tend to do the things that we make easier for them to do.
One point I love is the fact that you said you want to use this to enable your team to grow. I think there's this, you know, maybe is kind of a boardroom topic, but there's a question for Gen AI specifically. It's like CHRO Morgan Stanley kind of alluded to this. He didn't say it outright, but there's the question on impact of the workforce, which basically means like, can we use Gen AI not to hire people, or can we lay teams off and use Gen AI instead? And really, I see this as like an enabler of talent. It's a way to make people better at their jobs and to help them actually grow and up-level in their careers. Can you talk about where you are in the implementation cycle and kind of what that process was like?
Yes, so we were actually really nervous about this. They invited us to speak, and we're like, so that's cool. We signed a contract last July. You are aware that we're not fully implemented still. And so we'll take 100% responsibility, well, like 98% responsibility. We've had a lot of challenges moving from our journey. We continue to add on our HR tech stack with Eightfold because we're finding a lot of opportunities. Just some challenges when going through that implementation with a vendor that we had for our ATS. We then had this great opportunity to be a pilot with, we don't call it pilots here. I don't know what we call it, but it's a pilot. For T2, work on that naming, on the ATS. So we're including that as well. Mm-hmm. So we are not fully implemented, but we have definitely been spending a lot of time in our sandbox going through, asking questions. The team's been super responsive in helping us. They're great at designing and engineering, and then their customer focus and ability to learn from us, right? There's the machine learning, and then there's the people learning of watching us, and they're like, oh, that's really interesting that you got there that way. And then they'll come back with the solution immediately. So not fully implemented. Thank you for bringing that, because I felt like I would be a fraud if you came up and asked me questions later.
Right. And then talk about kind of your future aspirations and how you're thinking about building kind of future use cases. So I think by show of the hands in the room, nobody's fully operationalized a Gen AI capability in their HR. Is that fair to say? Or if you have, you can come up here and share your experience, or we'll do it over drinks tonight. So talk about kind of the future, what you see as the future possibilities here and future roadmap.
So we're definitely not siloed. We collaborate extensively. At the same time, being over the OD side of the business, what I'm most excited about is our talent marketplace and that talent management side. we have a lot of resources currently dedicated that include a lot of manual processes and interventions, and we recognize where individuals maybe get lost in that process of trying to attain their full potential and not seeing a clear path a lot of times in the absence of some of these tools. They maybe leave the organization because they think that's their only path forward. And so again, when you have a limited pool to start with, we believe we're a top employer and we want to attract and retain those individuals. So for us, future state is it's really centered everything we're doing. And I love the speakers before this when they were talking about like their talent attraction teams and how they have their opportunity marketplace. That's our goal for our organization, is having that be centered to everything. And so we're working in the process actively of having those fully developed career paths where it makes sense in alignment to force the masses to, hey, if you're not sure, before you have to have an uncomfortable conversation, you can self-serve and explore a lot of things, get those inferred skill matches, and look for what are those opportunities. Then that will enhance and support our internal coaching programs that we offer, as well as then with our process of attracting external talent, but then also increase our promotions and different opportunities for the internal talent mobility.
Yeah, like so far, I mean, obviously we work together a lot now still. And so it's just a much more holistic approach rather than, well, here's recruiting, go talk to the recruiter. Oh no, you have an HR problem, go talk to them. Oh, you don't know what you want to do, go talk to training. So yeah, we're just mostly excited about that, right? Like we want to be the very best, we want to deliver the very best. It's part of our company culture and company motto. And so we want to leverage the tools we have available. If we're not leveraging them and taking advantage of them and learning and keeping up with that, like our competitors are. And so with this a really aggressive talent marketplace, it's so important that you stay on top of that. And not every solution is great for you, and maybe you have to kind of tweak how you use it, but oh my goodness, like to just sit back and think, well, it's kind of scary, we're not going to do it. It takes a lot of internal pushing. We've, so appreciative of all of our leaders who have listened to us repeatedly and heard us plead our cases. Because, as you all know, like it can take a lot of time and work to get the buy-in on something that you believe in, that you believe is right for the company. And so as AI progresses, we fully see us continuing to leverage that. And we want to be the first. We want to be there at the forefront, really driving change and not trying to catch up all the time.
I also love the responsible by design. When you talk about those roadblocks in trying to get a vision to reality, we have incredibly innovative leaders. For a company of our size, maybe more of a traditional business model, you would expect incredibly innovative. It's not the challenge of doing new things, it's making sure that we do it responsibly in a way that protects our most important piece of our business, which is our employees. You can't replace that. So we really love the partnership with Eightfold. It's been amazing. And I don't have to have those same debates. I mean, we pull them in, right? Like here, the engineers need to show us what's under the hood. We need to understand what it's doing. How does this work from a legal compliance? But safety is a really important part of our journey, and that includes the cybersecurity and safety of our employees' data, and then making sure that what we use this for is appropriate and helps progress the goals of the individuals in our organization. So it's been amazing.
Love that. Absolutely love that. All right. Do we have time for one question, or shall we?
Okay. Yep.
All right. We have time for one question, or I'll maybe leave a final thought. Any brave souls? All right. You need a little maybe liquid lubrication to encourage it. I'll leave you with the final thought for the kind of enterprise view, is that most organizations, from kind of an enterprise context that are trying to roll out Gen AI, as you kind of heard from Morgan Stanley, there tends to be a kind of a steering committee. IT is kind of leading the charge in the rollout of enterprise-level Gen AI capabilities. And at least among the companies that we've worked with, HR does have a seat at the table, but they're one of kind of many, many competing parts of that conversation, and how kind of those capabilities are allocated and kind of prioritized. HR necessarily isn't always kind of the top. And one of the benefits of getting this capability through a solution that's kind of in the portfolio is you've got access to it now, and you don't necessarily need to ask permission to get it. Those capabilities have already been kind of prepackaged and built and designed and quite frankly battle tested against to make sure that they are compliant and safe. And so tends to be a lot easier to tap those capabilities inside of something that's in the portfolio as opposed to the kind kind of broader enterprise Gen AI projects that are going on kind of across organizations. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thanks for your time.